All praises to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and peace to everyone joining me on this program. This is the Founder of Israel's Bible Studies program, and as always, it's an honor for me to stand before you on the Lord's holy Sabbath day. Now, today, class, we are going to be talking about the Sabbath sign. Now, I'll be reading from the Scriptures version of it, so it'll sound a little bit different, but listen. The reason why I want to do this, I want to deal with this because we have new people all the time coming into this whole idea of the truth, right? So they may, get into the identity, who are the biblical Israelites today, things like that. And then then they learn that, hey, the law still stands. It's like an epiphany, right? And so now we need to kind of get into some of those things. And in this one, we're going to go ahead and get into the Sabbath. Now, in the past, I've done Sabbath lessons many times, lessons about the Sabbath on the Sabbath. But we want to go ahead and jump into this and kind of give a little bit of perspective, give some perspective for those who don't know, like us, right? Who don't know that the Sabbath is a crucial sign, who doesn't know that, the enemy means to change times and laws, and the Sabbath being the only law that's a time and a law. So we're going to go ahead and get into that so they can see what it is that we already know, who's been doing this for quite some time now, who at least had this understanding for quite some time now. So with that, we're going to go ahead and jump into Matthew 28. So let's go to Matthew 28. And again, I'm reading from the Scriptures version of the Bible, Matthew 28, and we read the first verse of 28. And it said, "But late in the Sabbath, as it was dawning into day one of the week, day one of the week, Miriam from Magdala and the other Miriam came to see the tomb." Okay, so again, it was on the Sabbath, and it was beginning to dawn on the first day of the week. Okay, it started to dawn there. But notice, if we continue to read that, he was gone. Okay, he was already gone. So this whole Sunday idea right out the gate, okay, no. Rose on Sunday, no. It was beginning to dawn. Look in your King James Version. It was beginning to dawn towards the first day of the week. And by the time they got there, he was already gone. So light was coming up. The morning light was coming. And remember, guys, in the Hebrew, they do not reckon days starting at midnight. They did not do that. They reckon days starting at nightfall in the evening, right? From the evening and the morning. And the evening and the morning was day one, okay? In this case, day 7. But you get the point. So that's how they start reckoning things, okay? So let's keep that in mind. Let's go to Matthew 24 or Matthew 24. Okay? The Scriptures version Bible. Some people, they're going to be in this lesson and they're going to say, someone's going to ask invariably, okay, which Bible are you reading out of? Which Bible are you reading out of? So I'm just saying it. I'm saying it a couple of times. The Scriptures version. All right. And it's Matthew 24. We're going to start at 3 and we're going to start at verse 3. Okay. 24. 3 says this. "And as he sat on the Mount of Olives, the taught ones came to him separately, saying, 'Say to us, when shall this be? And what is the sign of your coming and the end of the age?'" Okay. Now let's take a look. And he says, "And Yeshua answering said to them, 'Take heed that no one leads you astray. For many shall come in my name, and saying, I am the Messiah, and they shall lead many astray. And you shall begin to hear of fightings and reports of fightings, and see that you are not troubled. For these have to take place, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and reign against reign, and there shall be scarcities of food, and deadly diseases, and earthquakes in places,'" right? So he just telling you some of the things you got to look out for. We're going to go to 15 and 16, if you will. 15 says this: "So when you see the abominations that lays waste," spoken of in Daniel, spoken of by Daniel the prophet, "set up in the set apart places," this is in Daniel 11:31, "he who reads, let him understand. Then let those who are in Yehuda flee to the mountains." Okay, so those in Yehuda flee to the mountains. Now we want to read 20 and 21. It says, "And pray that your flight does not take place in winter or on the Sabbath. For then there shall be great distress, such has not been since the beginning of the world until this time. No, nor ever shall be. Okay, so pray that it's not on the Sabbath. Now, if we go into our history, when we understand, for example, in the Maccabees, in that period when the Greeks was really, just wreaking havoc on Jerusalem and the Jews, they, on the Sabbath day, at those times, they would not put up resistance, right? They would not put up resistance because it was the Sabbath. And what happened was that since the Greeks and the Romans, you can read that in history, the Greeks and Romans, they noticed, except for the case of the Maccabees, they decided to take up arms and fight on the Sabbath. However, because if they didn't, they would have been wiped out. But that aside, you look at the Greeks and the Romans, they wrote in history, in their books, okay, there's many references in their books where they start noticing that the Jews would not put up a fight on the seventh day, the day that they call Saturn. In fact, when you read in their books, they call it the day of Saturn. They're like, hey, these Jews are not fighting on the day of Saturn. So they saw the pattern, okay, every 7 days. So much for this whole moving target Saturday, this lunar Sabbath and all that. No, it did not happen in history. Okay, did not happen. Okay, because that would mean that the enemies, the Greeks and the Romans, followed a lunar Sabbath, and they noticed in their writings, they're like, hey, these guys, they're not fighting on the day of Saturn. Okay, let's go get them. That kind of thing. So you have that. Okay, so we know the seventh day, the day what we call now Saturday, we know that is the seventh day. Okay, for sure. Okay, we know that. Okay, we take that from history, because some people would say, oh well, what, we don't know when's the seventh day. How do we know Sunday is not the seventh day? Stuff like that. No. We know what day. We know Sunday is the first day of the week. We know that. Okay, we know that. We know when we look at history that the enemies, the Romans, the enemies of the Jews, the Romans said that they were attacking them on the day of Saturn, which means that they were following their own calendar, and they noticed by their own calendar this same day every week, the Jews' behavior, the Israelite behaviors was the same. They rested. They didn't do anything. They rested or they worshiped. They didn't do anything. They did every day of Saturn. Wow, right? So see, they didn't go by the Hebrew calendar, even though the Hebrews had their own calendar, but the Romans didn't go by that calendar, and they still noticed a pattern. Okay, think about that, brothers and sisters. Let's go ahead and go to Bereshit or Genesis, chapter 2. And I want to read the first 3 verses. Now look at this. It says, thus the heavens and the earth were completed and all their array. And in the seventh day, Elohim completed his work which he had done, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. And Elohim blessed the seventh day and set it apart, because on it he rested from all his work which Elohim in creating had made. Okay? In creating had made. So this day for him, it is a special day. It's this day, if for no other reason, it's the day that he set apart, the day he made holy. And then he said what he want us to do in that day primarily is to rest. It is a day of rest. It symbolizes something so much bigger. We think, oh, it's just a day off and relaxing. No. It symbolizes more, and we're gonna get into it more and more. Okay, it symbolizes so much more. Okay, so we're gonna go to Exodus. Okay, we're gonna go to Exodus, or I could say Shemot 20. We're going to go to Exodus 20 or Shemot 20. We're going to read the first verse and then we'll drop to 8. First verse. And Elohim spake all these words, saying. Now we're going to go drop down to verse 8. Remember the Sabbath day to set it apart. 6 days you labor and shall do all your work. But the 7th day is a Sabbath of Elohim, of Yah your Elohim. You do not do any work, you, nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your male servant, nor your female servant, nor your cattle, nor your stranger who is within your gates. For in 6 days Yah made the heavens and the earth and sea and all that is in them, and rested the 7th day. Therefore Yah blessed the 7th day and set it apart. Okay, it's the 7th day. All right, that's how important it is to him that he sanctified, he set it apart. because it means so much more. So we are not done. Okay, we're still in Shemot. We're going to go to 31. Go to chapter 31 of Shemot or Exodus. Okay, I'll say both names of the books because I know not everyone have the scriptures version. Okay, so Exodus or Shemot 31. Scriptures are in the description box below. 31, and we're going to start 12 through 18. 12 says this. And Yah spoke to Moshe, saying, and you speak to the children of Israel, saying, my Sabbaths you are to guard by all means, for it is a what? Sign between me and you throughout your generations, to know that I, Yah, am setting you apart. Let's do that again. Okay? 12. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, and you speak to the children of Israel, saying, my Sabbaths you are to guard by all means, for it is a sign between me and you throughout your generations, to know that I, Yah, am setting you apart, so that we know that Yah is setting us apart. And ye shall guard the Sabbath, for it is set apart to you. Everyone who profanes it shall certainly be put to death, for anyone who does work on it, that being shall be cut off from among his people. 6 days work is done, and on the seventh is a Sabbath of rest, set apart to Yah. Everyone doing work on the Sabbath day shall certainly be put to death. And the children of Israel shall guard the Sabbath, to perform the Sabbath throughout their generation as an everlasting covenant. Throughout the generation as an everlasting covenant. Between me and the children of Israel, it is a what? Sign forever. It is a sign forever. For in 6 days Yah made the heavens and the earth, and on the seventh day he rested and was refreshed. And when he had ended speaking with him at Mount Sinai, he gave Moshe 2 tablets of the witness, tablets of stone written with the finger of Elohim. That's how serious this is, that he would take his time to write it with his finger. Okay, the Most High Elohim wrote it with his finger, put it on 2 tablets of stone, handed it to Moshe, and said, look, this is what you need to tell the children of Israel. Still don't think it's a big deal, guys? Still don't think it means something? It's kind of a big deal. If it's a big deal to him, it needs to be a big deal to us. Do you not agree? Okay. So let's go ahead and let's keep this moving. And we're going to go over to see what we have here. Next reference, we're going to go over to join me in Isaiah. Okay, join me in Isaiah or Yeshayahu. So we're going to go to Yeshayahu or Isaiah 56. Yeshayahu or Isaiah 56. Okay, and when we get to Isaiah 56, we're going to read the first 8 verses. Thus says Yah, guard right rulings and do righteousness, for near is my deliverance to come, and my righteousness to be revealed. Blessed is the man who does this, and the son of man who becomes strong in it, guarding the Sabbath, lest he profane it, and guarding his hand from doing any evil. And let not the son of the foreigner who has joined himself to Yah speak, saying, Yah has certainly separated me from his people, nor let the eunuch say, look, I am a dry tree. For thus says Yah to the eunuchs who guard my Sabbaths and have chosen what pleases me and are holding on to my covenant. To them I shall give in my house and within my walls a place and a name better than that of sons and daughters. And I give them an everlasting name that is not cut off. So much for the, Gentiles can't get in and strangers can't get in, but okay. Also, the sons of the foreigner, again a foreigner, sons of the foreigner who joins themselves to Yah to serve him and to love the name of Yah, to be his servants, all who guard the Sabbath and not profane it, and are holding unto my covenant. Them I shall bring to my set apart mountain and let them rejoice in my house of prayer. their sending offers, and their slaughterings are accepted on my slaughter place. For my house is called a house of prayer for all the peoples. For all the peoples. I hope we got that. Last one, verse 8. The Master Yah, who gathers the outcasts of Israel, declares, I gather still others to him besides those who are gathered to him. Others. Okay, so now everybody can join, but now everybody's expected to observe this Shabbat, the Sabbath. Everyone's expected to do that, right? Whether you are natural born, blood born Israelite, or a foreigner, stranger, Gentile. But I know you may let someone come along and tell you differently, but you're reading it for yourself. I would say read it for yourself. I would say go ahead and grab your references and things like that and look behind these words and the meanings. I would say pray for some understanding. But this is what it says, brothers and sisters. This is what it is. Now, we're going to go to the New Testament for a bit. Okay, Mahase or Acts, Mahase or the Acts of the Apostles. We're going to go to 18 and read the first 4 verses. We're going to go to 18 in Acts of Mahase, 18, first 4 verses. And after this, Shaul left Athens and went to Corinth, and he found a certain Yehudi named Aculas, born in Pontus, who had recently come from Italy with his wife Priscilla, because Claudius had commanded all the Yahudim to leave Rome, and he came to them. And because he was of the same trade, he stayed with them and was working, for they were tent makers by trade. And he was reasoning in the congregation every Sabbath and won over both Yahudim and Greeks. Every Sabbath. So much for the Christians saying, oh, well, you know, Paul said we don't have to do it. Paul was, he was in the synagogue. Oh, because that's when the Jews went. Oh, but it said he won over the Greeks too. He didn't change just because the Greeks, they observe or worship on Sunday, so I'm going to go ahead and go see them. See, that's another lie that they would tell you. That's another lie that they would say, oh, well, he went over to, the Greeks, he did that on Sunday. No. He said we worship on Saturday, and that's what we do. After all, Shaul, or whom we call today Paul, after all, he was an Israelite. After all, he was a Pharisee. And we know how the old saying goes, action speaks louder than words. His actions were that he went into the synagogues on the Shabbat, on the Sabbath day, on the 7th day, and taught. And in this instance, he won over both Yahudim and Greeks. Jews are the southern tribe, Judah, but it was mixed with Benjamin, Levite, and Judah, right? Yeah. So he won over both Israelite and Greeks and non-Israelites and foreigners or strangers. Brothers and sisters. So we were at Acts 18. We're going to go to 13. Let's go to Acts, or Masay 13. We're going to read a little bit. 13. Okay. Let's read 13 through 16. It says, having put out from Paphos, Shaul and those with him came to Perga and Pamphylia. And Yohanan, having left them, returned to Jerusalem. But passing through from Perga, they came to Antioch and Pisidia and went into the congregation on the Sabbath day and sat down. On the Sabbath day and sat down. And after the reading of the Torah and the prophets, the rules of the congregations sent to them, saying, men, brothers, if you have any word of encouragement for the people, speak or say on, right? If you have any word. And Shaul, standing up and motioning with his hand, said, men, Israelis, and those fearing Elohim, listen. Okay, men of Israel and those fearing Elohim, listen. Okay, so listen to what he's saying here. Okay. And Shaul standing up and motioning with his hand, men of Israel and those fearing Elohim, listen. So he begins to talk You guys see that, right? Now we're going to skip down and watch this when we go to verse 42. We're going to read 42 to 46. Now, 42, he said, and when the Yahudim went out of the congregation, so this is over, the meeting's over, right? And when they went out to the congregation, the nations begged, the Greeks, the strangers, the foreigners, begged to have these words spoken to them. What? The next Sabbath. The next Sabbath, brothers and sisters. Okay, again, we're in the New Testament. Those who still have that Christian, I'm really trying to bust that Christian, that bubble right there. I'm really trying to combat the cognitive dissonance that many people, for the first time hearing the lesson about the Sabbath, that they may be going up against right now. Like, wait a minute, hold on, it's Sunday, but we're in the New Testament and all that. Okay, got it. Look at what Paul did, Shaul. Look at what he did. He spoke to them on the Sabbath. And right here, what we just read in 42, and when the Yahudim went out of the congregation, the nations begged to have these words spoken to them the next Saturdays. This would be the perfect time for him to say, hey, you know what? Our Messiah came and went. He's gone. We don't have to do the seventh day anymore. We're going to change it, and we're going to go to the first day of the week. I'll see you guys tomorrow on Sunday. This is the perfect time for him to say that, but he didn't. Actions speak louder than words, brothers and sisters. Okay, are you with me so far? Give me a 100 in the chat below. Are you with me? We're going to keep reading a little bit. And when the meeting of the congregation had broken up, many of the Yahudim and of the worshiping converts, proselytes, followed Shaul and Barnabas, who, speaking to them, were urging them to continue in the favor of Elohim. So they were doing the right thing. Now watch this in 44. And on the next Sabbath, almost all the city came together to hear the word of Elohim. On the next Sabbath, this happened, brothers and sisters. 45. But when the Yahudim saw the crowds, they were filled with jealousy and contradicting and speaking evil. Those opposed what Shaul was saying. Okay. But speaking boldly, Shaul and Barnabas said it was necessary that the word of Elohim should be spoken to you first. But since you thrust it away and judge yourselves unworthy of everlasting life, see, we turn to the nations. We turn to the Gentiles. In Gentiles, for those who are new, Gentile simply means nation, right? But these are anybody other than Israel. Any other nation, not Israel. Any other nation, not Yahudim. It's nation, right? Greeks is nation. Strangers, Egyptians, Ethiopians, everybody else, German, everybody else. That's strangers, okay? So, yes, later on, you will hear other people say, oh, well, there's the Israelite, lost Israel. They were referred to as strangers and all that. You'll hear that later. And again, I'm talking to those who are new. You will hear that a little bit later. We got lessons on that and stuff like that, okay? So that's just them to try to exclude everybody else. Nobody else is going to get salvation, blah, 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 right? We deal with that. We deal with that. Just follow me on the importance of the Sabbath, okay? So we see that. Very, very important. So we're in 13. So we're going to go ahead to Mahasa or Acts 16. Okay, let's go up just a couple of chapters and go to Acts 16. Okay, and when we get to 16, we're going to read 12 through 15. Okay, 12. And from there to Philippi, which is the principal city of that part of Macedonia, a colony. And we were staying in that city for some days. And what? And on the Sabbath day, we went outside the city by a river where there used to be prayer. And having sat down, we were speaking to the woman who met there. Okay? And a certain woman named Lydia, a seller of purple from the city of Thyatira, worshiping Elohim, was hearing. Whose heart the master did open to pay attention to what Shaul said. And when she was immersed or baptized, and her household, she begged us, saying, if you have judged me to be believing in the master, come to my house and stay. And she urged us, right? So she wanted them to stay. And that's just hospitality, brothers and sisters. Just hospitality. That's just how that's how Hebrews was. I have a whole lesson on Hebrew hospitality. Go check it out. It's just one of the things that, the Hebrews does. We don't do that much today, but that's how it was, being hospitable, even if you don't know someone quite that well. But if you're a fellow believer, you're going to show there's some hospitality there. That's another lesson. So we're going to go ahead and keep going. In 17, first 3 verses, Acts 17, Amahashe 17, first 3 verses. It says, and having passed through Amphipolis and Apollonia, they came to Thessalonica, where there was a congregation of the Yahudim. And according to his practice, what? Shaul went in unto them, and for what? 3 Sabbaths was reasoning with them from the scriptures, explaining and pointing out that the Messiah had to suffer and rise again from the dead, saying, this is the Messiah, Yeshua, whom I claim to you. For the next 3 Sabbaths, Shaul, same thing. Paul, same thing. Next 3 Sabbaths, over and over and over. Okay, we're a bunch of Sabbaths in now. Paul's still doing it. Now, the reason why I'm pointing out Paul is because they're going to say, oh, well, you know, if I go somewhere else, oh, the Messiah hadn't died yet. Okay, we're in the book of Acts. Messiah's gone. Okay, he's gone and ascended. Read chapter 1. Real early. Okay, you won't even make it to chapter 2. He's already gone. Okay, so he's gone. They're still doing the Sabbath. They're still doing the Sabbath. They're still doing the Sabbath over and over and over. So these first century Christians still observe the Sabbath. Are they more Christian than you? I would say yes. So we're going to keep going. They're still at it. Okay. So now we're going to go to Masay 20 or Acts 20. And when we get to Acts 20, I'm going to read, let me go to 7 real quick. And he says, what? And on day 1 of the week, the taught ones, having gathered together to break bread. You know what break bread is? That means eat, right? Just eat. Shaul, who intended to depart the next day, was reasoning with them and was extending the word till midnight. Okay, so we understand that. Now let's drop to 6 real quick, because again, we're still talking about first century Christians. And we sailed away from Philippi after the days of unleavened bread, and came to them at Troas in 5 days, where we stayed 7 days. Okay, so we just read that. We read 7 first, and then I backed up to 6, showing that they still did it. It is still important and it's still valid. Okay, and the Messiah's already gone. He's already ascended, right? So not done. We're gonna go drop down to 16. Drop down to 16. And it says there, for Shaul had decided to sail past Ephesus so that he might lose no time in Asia, for he was hurrying to be at Jerusalem, if possible, on the day of the festival of Shavuot. Okay, so I'm just saying, guys, they kept observing the Mosaic law. They kept on doing it. They kept on doing it. My point is, it's all still valid, and they still observed the Sabbath. They still did all this on the Sabbath, on the Sabbath, on the Sabbath. You still see the Sabbath still going on. So the question is, what have your pastor been telling you? What has Christianity taught us about the Sabbath? Oh, it's done away with, right? When you look at a lot of Protestant confessions, a lot of Catholic confessions telling you in their literature, in their writings, that they changed the Sabbath. By their own power, they changed the Sabbath. They even admit there's nowhere in the Bible that alludes, that implies, or where you can infer that they meant for us to change the Sabbath. It is nowhere in there. The Sabbath still stands, and it's the same day, the 7th day. Today, we call it Saturday. Nothing has changed in regards to that. So you guys are going to have to help me out as to why we moved on from the Sabbath. You're going to have to help me out. All right. So from there, we're going to go back to Matthew. Okay. We're going to go back to Matthew 6, or actually Matthew 28. Matthew chapter 28. Matthew 28, First 6 verses. But late in the Sabbath, as it was dawning into day 1 of the week, Miriam of Magdala and the other Miriam came to see the tomb. And see, there was a great earthquake, for a messenger of Yahweh came down out of the heaven and came and rolled back the stone from the door and sat on it. And his appearance was like lightning, and his garments as white as snow. And the guards trembled for fear of him and became like dead men. And the messengers responded, said to the women, do not be afraid, for I know that you seek Yeshua, who was impaled. He is not here, for he was raised. And he said, come, see the place where the master lay. Are you guys starting to kind of get this here? Okay. I just want to make sure you get this. So my point is, he wasn't there. Okay. He's not here, but let's go see. I'm going to go take you to where he's resting. All right. I want you guys to think about this. I really do. I really, really do. I want you to do your homework. I really want you to think about what some of these butter muffins have been telling you all these years when it comes to regarding the Sabbath. Here I am. I'm in the Bible, and I'm showing you right from the Bible. We can go to plenty of references of what some of these people have said over the centuries about the Sabbath. They want to get you off of it. They want to get you off the law. They want to get you off the Sabbath so that you rebel against the Most High, so that you will be cut off. It says the enemy come to steal, kill, and destroy. They're trying to destroy your joy, your peace, and they're trying to destroy your salvation, trying to get you off of the path, trying to steal what possibly good life that you can have now on this earth, and certainly the afterlife, certainly your chance to get into the kingdom. They're trying to destroy that trying to take that from you, and they're going to do it with vain words. They're going to sweet words. Tell you what you want to hear. We grow up with this tradition. Again, we grow up in Christianity, and we have this tradition of, hey, going on Sunday, and they still doing it. Now, a lot of people are waking up. A lot of men are coming out of the church, but we're starting to look here. Playing on the emotions. We know that our females are a little bit more of emotional creatures. So when they say things, say a lot of words that they want to hear, and give them some feel-good music and things like that, and some inspirational stories, and lower your guard. You have a good, nice feeling, and you open up your wallet or your purse, and you come back the very next week. Just selling you a dream, selling you a story. Not telling you what thus says the Lord, not even giving you the practice, not doing anything. Have you noticed in Christianity, whether it be of the Catholic flavor or the Protestant flavor, that they do nothing, almost nothing that the Bible says? Almost nothing. I want you to think about that for a second. We're talking about the Sabbath, okay? We'll start with that. The Sabbath, they don't do that. You shouldn't have idols or graven images. We got crosses and doves and angels and statues of Mary and all, and statues of Jesus, and don't do that. But yet Christianity does just that. We're supposed to have a dietary law. It's not supposed to be eating certain foods. No pork and shrimp and catfish, but they'll sell that. They'll sell you a fish plate immediately, right there on the premises. Christianity almost looks nothing like what the Bible actually says. Thou shalt not commit adultery. Psh, come on. The scandals in the church today, it's no different. It's no different. Divorce in the church, the numbers are the same as divorce outside of the church. So what exactly is the difference? What's the difference? We're not supposed to do or observe, pagan holidays. Does Christians observe pagan holidays? I hope this is starting to sink in. Now, again, some people may have some resistance and they'll be like, it's just, it's not like that. We're just trying to know. It's like that. It's like that. It's like that. The difference is you've been bamboozled and you don't want to admit it. That's that cognitive dissonance that I'm talking about. You've been bamboozled, you've been hook-winked, you've been hornswoggled. It's over. You bit it, you took it hook, line, and sinker. Okay? We all did. When it comes to these laws, especially when it comes to the Sabbath stuff, we all did. It's all backwards. It's all tradition. We never asked. We just did it. Just sleepwalking through life, sleepwalking through the Bible. Just doing whatever. Go along to get along. Just following the crowd. We've all done it. But it's high time for you to wake up out of your sleep and start somewhere with getting on the same page as the Most High. Quit trying to pigeonhole him into what you want him to do. Quit trying to put together this puzzle called the Bible with a pair of scissors. You can't don't put the pieces together with a pair of scissors. Oh, that don't quite fit, so let me go ahead and shave it a little bit, and then, yeah, it's going to be that. No, nay. We're not doing that. We're not doing that. This Sabbath is too important. It's a sign. It's like you going to the family reunion and you have this t-shirt on. You say, hey, no, I'm with you, y'all. I'm observing this because I'm with you. I'm on your program. You want me to rest? We're going to do some resting. You want me to worship? We're going to do some worship. What are you going to do? And don't get me wrong. If you're new, okay, the people who've been following for a while, you're good. But those, if you're new, don't get overwhelmed. We don't say do everything in the law day one. Why? Because you don't know. You don't even know what's everything in the law. And plus this, you have to walk in righteousness. Means you got to practice this thing. So you got to practice, Sabbath observance. You got to practice, these dietary laws, and practice avoiding some of the foods that we cannot eat. You have to practice those things, avoiding some of the pagan holidays. You have to practice that kind of stuff. And get on these feast days. Yeah, if you haven't done it before, you got to practice these type of things. One thing at a time. You're like a baby. So we're feeding you with the milk of the word. Then as it builds up, you get into the real meat of it. We got to get these basic things down, okay? This is one of the more basic lessons. We got to get these basic things down before we have to go and go look in Revelation and find out what the seven seals and the seven trumpets and the seven bowl judgments are and stuff like that. We need to get the basics down before we study, the 70 weeks of Daniel. We got to get some of these basics down before we look at end times prophecies. Guys, let's get this thing right, brothers and sisters. Let's get it right. We're still in Mattiyahu. Let's go to chapter 12. Matthew chapter 12. Mattiyahu or Matthew chapter 12. I'm going to start at 38. 38. So we're going to do 38, and then we're going to also read up to 40. So 38. We're going to start at 38, which reads, Then some of the scribes and Pharisees answered, Teachers, we wish to see a sign from you. They want to see some kind of miracle, right? A sign from you. But he answered, said to them, A wicked and adulterous generation seeks after a sign, and no sign shall be given to it except the sign of the prophet Jonah. For as Jonah was what? 3 days and 3 nights in the stomach of the great fish. 3 days and 3 nights in the stomach of the great fish. Okay? So shall the son of Adam be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. So he pointed out 3 days and 3 nights. Okay? Because he could have just said one. Oh, I'll be in there 3 days. Or I'll be in there 3 nights. No, he said 3 days, 3 nights. That's what he said, right? So if you go to Jonah, you look at the same thing. Okay? When you go to Jonah, that book of Jonah, then it would say that he was in the belly of the fish, of the great fish, for 3 days and 3 nights. 72 hours, right? Now, how, again, this is very basic. The question's been asked, but I'm talking to those who are brand new and everything. How exactly, 72 hours, how do you get 72 hours from Friday night to Sunday morning, which you've already established that he wasn't there by the time the sun came up on the first day of the week. So, how do you get that? How do you get to 72 hours? Now, what we say, how we look at it, okay, when we go back into history and we start tracking things a little bit, this is what we say. Okay, on this side of it, right? We get our 72 hours from Wednesday to the Shabbat. Wednesday night, Thursday night, Friday night. That's what we get. Then we have Thursday morning, Friday morning, Saturday morning. 3 days, 3 nights. Or daytime, if we say, if you want to say, if you don't want to say morning, you can say daytime, okay? Wednesday nighttime, Thursday nighttime, Friday nighttime. Thursday daytime, Friday time, Saturday time. And then as it starts to get dark on Saturday time, he comes up out of there. By the time morning gets there, he's already gone. Does that make sense? Okay? That's how we get 3 days, 3 nights. I don't know how you get 3 days and 3 nights. Friday night till Sunday morning. Friday nighttime, Saturday nighttime. Okay, Saturday daytime. You don't get Sunday daytime, but so help us out. Help us all out if you can explain that. Please put that in the comment section down below so we can all see how you get 72 hours out of that. How do you get 3 days and 3 nights from Friday night till you're going to have to help me here. Okay? Now, while you do that and try to figure that out, we're going to keep going. Let's go to Yohanan or John. Let's go to Yohanan or John. And we're going to go to chapter 19. Yohanan 19. Yohanan 19. And we go to 19. We're going to read 30 and 31. 19, 30, and 31. So 30 says this. So when Yeshua took the sour wine, he said, "It has been accomplished." And bowing his head, he gave up his spirit. Therefore, since it was the preparation day, that the bodies should not remain on the stake on the Sabbath, for that Sabbath was a high Sabbath. The Yahudim asked Pilate to have their legs broken and that they be taken away. Okay, so again, for those who are new, you say, "Oh, that's the Sabbath, it's Saturday." No, it was a high Sabbath. It was an annual Sabbath. It's the preparation day, okay? It's Passover. It was an annual Sabbath, okay? So we have the Passover, and then we start getting into the Feast of Unleavened Breads that follows immediately after. So since they was preparing, it was a preparation. They were preparing for the Passover, sorry. They was preparing for the Pesach, okay? And that's why they said, okay, well, we don't want to leave that up because he'll be up there like 7 days, he'll be up there, because it's on a feast day, and they didn't want that to happen. It was a high, meaning annual, okay? Saturday, or the 7th day, is a weekly Sabbath. A high Sabbath is an annual one, okay? Now, every now and again, sometimes some of the annual ones will come, land on a Saturday or whatever, but that's not all the time, okay? Every now and again, that would happen, okay? So, but we know this is not the regular 7th-day Sabbath, okay? There was a distinction here, all right? So, Colossians, okay? Let's go over to Colossians, okay? And we're going to go to chapter 2 of Colosseum, okay? Let's see what we have. Colossians 2. Colossians 2, I'm going to start at 8, then we're going to drop down to 16. So let's go 8. And it says, "See to it that no one makes a prey of you through philosophy and empty deceit, according to the traditions of men, according to the elementary matters of the world, and not according to Messiah." Okay? Now, let's go over to 16. We're going to read 16 and 17, which reads, "And let no one therefore judge you in eating or in drinking or in respect of a festival or a new moon or Sabbaths," what? "Which are a shadow of what is to come, but the body of the Messiah," right? To shadow means, which is to foreshadow. They're not saying, oh, wait, it's just a shadow. It's not important. No, it just says it foreshadows what's coming. Don't let anyone judge you in Sabbaths, okay? And what he was saying, all these things, really, because now you have to look at it like this here. Don't let anyone judge you in your eating and drinking, because you're going to eat different, you drink different, whatever, or in respect of a festival or a new moon or a Sabbath, right? And the festivals, okay, these are feast days. The new moons is a new month. Okay, the new month, they back then they observed the new month as well. Look at it in Psalms. They observed the new months, or Sabbath, the weekly Sabbath, or the annual Sabbaths. Don't let anyone judge you in that, because these things foreshadow what is to come. "Let no one deprive you of the prize, one that takes a delight in false humility and worshiping of messengers, taking his stand on what he has not seen, puffed up by his fleshly mind." Okay, so I just wanted to, point this out to you guys, give you an idea. Don't let anyone judge you. And I also want you to think about something, right? Because this right here was also twisted, okay? Twisted by others, right? And here's one of the things that they would say about Colossians, all right? Colossae. They would say, oh, well, see, you don't see, what he did was he's taught you not to do it. He taught you not to observe the Sabbath, and then tell you don't let anyone judge you for it. And wrong. That's completely wrong. He was teaching you Torah. He was teaching them Torah. And I can prove that in the book of Acts. He was teaching them Torah and then saying, don't let somebody else come along. Not the Yahudim, and certainly not the nations that you coming from. He's talking about the Colossians. And certainly not your other fellow Colossians. Don't let them judge you, because now you're going to be observing feast days. Because think about it. If it was the other way around, why would a Colossian judge another Colossian for not observing something that they've never observed before? That they don't do. They don't do what the Jews do. So why would they judge you for not doing what the Jews do like them? It makes no sense. But does it make sense if these Colossians would judge you as a Colossians for now doing what you see the Jews do? And so now Paul is saying, oh, don't let them judge you for what you're doing now, which is feast days and new months and Sabbaths and so on and so forth. I know you got it, class. I know you got it. All right. Let's go to Dabarim. Let's go to Dabarim. Or actually, before we do that, no, we can go to Dabarim. No, we can go to Dabarim. Let's go to Dabarim. Oh, I'm sorry. Deuteronomy 16. Okay. Deuteronomy 16. Dabarim 16. Okay. And we're going to start at 8. We're going to read 8 through 10. 16, 8 through 10. It says what? 6 days you eat unleavened bread, and on the 7th day there is a closing festival to Yah, your Elohim. You do no work. Okay. And what he says, counting 7 weeks for yourself, begin to count 7 weeks from the time you begin to put the sickle to the grain. Look at what he's saying to do, right? All right. And to the grain, he said, and ye shall perform the festival of Shavuot to Yah, your Elohim, according to the voluntary offering from your hand, which ye give as Yahweh, your Elohim, blesses you. Okay. So he's just saying, look at, just do this. Okay. Do this according to what I'm telling you to do it, and you're going to observe it. So this is talking about the Feast of Unleavened Bread. This is one of those annual Sabbaths that we're talking about. This is a high Sabbath, or annual. This is one of the Moedims in the Hebrew, or appointed times. Okay? So they were doing it back then, and they were doing it in the New Testament, as we should be doing it now. Okay, let's go back. Okay, let's go back. We're going to go to Vayikra or Leviticus. Vayikra 23, Leviticus 23. Vayikra 23 or Leviticus 23. When we go there, we'll read the first 7 and then we'll skip to 15. 23 and 1, it says, And Yah spoke to Moshe, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say to them, The appointed times of Yah, which you are to proclaim as set apart gatherings, my appointed times are these. Okay? And he says 6 days work is done, but the 7th day is a Sabbath of rest, a set apart gathering. You do no work. It is a Sabbath to Yah in all your dwellings. Okay. These are the appointed times of Yah, set apart gatherings, which you are to proclaim at their appointed times. In the first new moon, okay, look at what we're talking about in Colossians, the first new moon, and on the 14th day of the new moon, between the evening is Passah to Yah. And on the 15th day of this new moon is the festival of Mitzvah, which is the unleavened bread, to Yah. 7 days you eat unleavened bread. Are we starting to understand? Are we seeing it? And on the first day, you have a set apart gathering. You do no servile work therein. So on the first day, you don't work. You don't do anything. Okay, we're getting it. Let's go to 15 and 16. Verse 15 and 16. 15 says this, And from the morrow after the Sabbath, from the day that you brought the sheaf of the wave offering, you shall count for yourself 7 complete Sabbaths. So that's when you start your Sabbath, your 7 complete Sabbaths, right? That counts come in, and that's how we get to Pentecost, or the Feast of Weeks, right? This is how we get here, talking to all the new people. Until the morrow after the 7th Sabbath, you count 50 days, then you shall bring a new grain offering to Yahweh. Okay, so he's just letting them know. Bring from your dwelling for a wave offering 2 loaves of bread and 2 tenths of the ephah of fine flour. They are unbaked with leaven, first fruits to Yah. Okay, so again, they did these moedims, these moeds, these appointed times, these feasts. They were doing it back then. They're doing it in the New Testament. I was just showing you there's a difference between the weekly one when we read the first 7 verses in this particular book here in Leviticus 23 or Vayikra. When we look at that, he points out the 6 days, and on the 7th day, that's the Sabbath, and then he started getting into the annual ones. That's why I want to point this part out to you guys. Okay. So we're still in Leviticus, so go to Vayikra or Leviticus 25. We're going to read 8 and 10. 8 through 10. And 8 says, And ye shall count what? 7 Sabbaths of years for yourself, 7 times 7 years. And the time of the 7th Sabbath of years shall be to you 49 years. Then ye shall sound a shofar sound of the 10th day of the 7th new moon on Yom Kippur. Cause a shofar to sound through all your land, and ye shall set the 50th year apart, and proclaim release throughout all the land to all the inhabitants. And it is a yobel for you, and each of you shall return to his possession, and each of you return to his clan. Okay, it's like a jubilee, right? So I'm just showing you guys. All these things are important, but they all have a distinction to them. They're a little bit different. Okay, so we have the 50th. We have the 50th day, the Feast of Weeks, or Pentecost, as it's called in the New Testament. And then you have the Jubilee year, the 50th year, which is liberty, and you go back to your possessions, or your debts are forgiven. You go back to your family. It's all over. It's renewed in the 50th year. Everything is forgiven, right? So I just want to point that out to you guys, okay? So now we're going to go back. Our last couple of places we're going to go to, we're going to go back to the New Testament, okay? So we're going to go to Luke. Okay, we're going to go back. We're going to hit Luke real quick. And we're going to read Luke. Let me get to it first. Tell you chapter 4. chapter 4 in Luke. And we're going to start 14. We're going to read 14 to 16. 14 says this. And Yeshua returned in the power of the Spirit to Galilee. And news of him went out through all the surrounding country. And he was teaching in their congregations, being praised by all. And he came to Nazareth, where he had been brought up. And according to his practice, he went into the congregation on the Sabbath day and stood up to read. So if you're not used to teachings like this, this is what we do. This is why we read a lot of scriptures. Because that's what they did. They got in the Sabbath day and they stood up to read. Okay? So that's why we do what we do here. And you see a lot of other ministries in the truth do the same thing. They do a lot of reading. Okay? So that is, let's see here, that was 16. Okay, let's see here, that was 16. And again, and it came to Nazareth, where he had been brought up, and according to his practice, he went into the congregation or the synagogue on the Sabbath day and stood up to read. This is the Messiah himself going into the synagogue, going into the congregation on the Sabbath day. On the Sabbath day, and began to read. Okay, now everywhere I went before, I wasn't even doing with the Messiah. I went to the New Testament writings. I went to the Paul and all that, just because I know a lot of people want to go there. And we saw action speaks louder than word. Paul just kept doing what he kept doing on the Sabbath, on the Sabbath, on the Sabbath. And then I wanted to backtrack and come to the Messiah, who did the exact same thing. I'm sorry, if we're supposed to be Christians, again, I don't refer myself as a Christian, but if we're supposed to be Christians, Christians mean Christ follower. Shouldn't we be following what he does? Let's continue. Okay. Let us continue. Let's go to Hebrews or the Hebrew. Okay. Let's go to Hebrews or Hebrew. Okay. We go to Hebrew chapter 4. Hebrew chapter 4. We're going to read first 9 verses and then we're done. Chapter 4, Hebrew. Therefore, since a promise remains of entering into his rest, let us fear lest any of you seem to have come short of it. For indeed the good news has brought to us as well as to them, but the word which they heard did not profit them, not having them mixed with belief in those who heard it. For we who have believed do enter in that rest, as he has said, as I swear in my wrath, if they shall enter into my rest. Okay, talking about Psalms or Tehillim. And yet his works have come into being from the foundation of the world. For somewhere he had said thus about the seventh day. Okay, about the seventh day. And Elohim rested on the seventh day from all his works. Okay, talking about Bereshit or Genesis. And in this again, if they shall enter into my rest. Okay, since then it remains for some to enter into it, and those who formerly received the good news did not enter in because of disobedience. Why? Because of disobedience. Are we getting that? He again defines a certain day, today, saying through David, so much later, as it has been said, today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts. For if Yehoshua had given them rest, he would not have spoken of another day after that. So there remains a Sabbath keeping for the people of Elohim. So there remains a Sabbath keeping for the people of Elohim. See, the seventh day symbolizes the 1,000-year millennial reign. Got a lesson on that as well. But it symbolizes that for 6 days, we're going to work, we're going to toil. Human history is going to unfold. 6,000 years of human history is going to unfold. And in the Hebrew calendar, we're in the 6,000th year. approaching all that. It's like 5,000 something, right? I didn't look it up before. I didn't look it up recently. So we're approaching like that, you know, like in the 6,000 years, something like that. We got what, a little over 5,000 years of human history, right? Of recorded human history. So we got the 6 days for the humans to finish doing what they're doing. Then towards the end of that, the close of the 6,000 year, we gotta start worrying about, you know, the end times. We gotta worry about Armageddon. We gotta worry about the end of the world. We gotta worry about the Yeshua's second coming. And Armageddon, and then ushering in that day of rest, that 1,000-year reign of peace. 1,000-year reign of peace. That's the rest. 1,000-year reign and no more tears, no more sorrow, no more sin. Lock your doors. Don't have to worry about eating or paying bills or any of that stuff. That's the rest that he is trying to get us to enter in right now. We have to practice. This is the dress rehearsal. Question is, are you going to listen? Do you know that this Sabbath is a sign? Gives him an idea. So, because when the master comes, who shall he find so doing? What are you going to be doing? All right, brothers and sisters. I hope someone has been edified. So, until next time, search the scriptures and prove all things. Shalom, Israel.